5. Go ahead and share it. Feels like we just did this, like, I don't know, 15 minutes ago. Maybe that's because we did. All right. We the middle. Posting. And I'm done. Time. Oh, gosh. So for those of you who are listening and waiting, we're waiting on Grandpa Louie to log into his device and share it.
That's right. That's right. You know, I don't have them fast fingers that you do. You know,
there was a joke there, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
Slower.
Yeah, right. There's a joke there, but I'm gonna let it go.
Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Okay, you ready for the intro?
Yep.
All right. Let's see.
Shut up and sit down.
Oh, hola. Right when that happened, man, that stupid wasp went right by my head. Look, dude, if you see a wasp coming to my head, let me know. Anyway, welcome everybody.
You're waspophobic. You're waspophobic.
They get in my office. They get
Wasp
in my office.
Have feelings too.
I'll tell you the story in a second. Anyway, I am the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you. That is Trinity Phillips, the Dharma guy. We are Dope and Dharma, and this is We the Middle edition of Dope and Dharma. You might have seen us just a few minutes earlier if you, I don't know if you're paying attention. We did Dharma Time, which is our show on spirituality. On Mondays, we do the Couch Lie, which is on addiction and recovery, because I am a certified addictions professional. He is a spiritual advisor and master trainer. But here on We the Middle, we're just people that just aren't affiliated with either the Crips or the Bloods, not Republican or Democrat. We are the middle. And we're talking about issues that, of course, none of us can escape because they're pushing it down our throat every 5 minutes. And they're trying to rile us up all the time. So, that made my dogs bark. You hear them? They got them excited.
You get them all riled up, man.
That's what happens. But let me tell you about the wasp real quick before we get started with the show. So the Massey is here. Shout out to Massey, our pest control, right? So they're here, and good that they came at a perfect time, Trinity, right in between both shows, because my wife had told Massey last time they were here that, don't worry about the wasp nest. They're harmless. Let them live.
Wait. Are you talking about a legitimate wasp, or are you talking about a white Anglo-Saxon person?
Yeah. Oh no, wasp, the kind that sting you. So my wife told Massey not to worry about this. Yeah, not to worry about them. And I'm like, you did what? So then one day we were out there and I was grilling, and where I had put the cover of the grill apparently was next to a wasp nest that I didn't know. It was hidden underneath the rail. So when my wife went to go grab the cover, why'd you put the cover here? You know, she's complaining about where I put the cover. So I think the wasp were protecting me because she was being a little naggy at the moment. And she went and said, why'd you put the cover here? And as soon as she said that, bam, she goes, ow. I go, what? She goes, he got me in the face.
He got her in the face? Holy shit.
In the face.
Wow.
In the face.
That sucks. Did it all swell up?
So being the good husband I am, I went a little bit. But, being the good husband that I am, I went immediately to go look for my wasp spray, which I was out. But then I went to the Home Depot.
That's very
much Home Depot. And I got the wasp spray that my wife approves of, meaning all natural. Anyway, I found a good one. But it was all natural. Anyway, and bang, I killed them dead. Then, again, because my wife said don't knock them down, there was another thing that I didn't find. So underneath some of our wood decking, right where my daughter's room is, apparently there was another one. How do I know this? Because then Zoe was walking around her little area, and then bam, she got
So you're saying the wasps are sexist? They only sting women?
Oh no, they tried to get me one day too because I had my hat on, and he hit me on the head. He came and hit me on the hat, and I was like, "Well, these were very aggressive wasps, except the ones that end up in my office." But I think it's because they know they're by themselves. They have no help in here. They get in my office somehow, and they die. I kill them.
Is there a product though? Is there a product out there that works better than that wasp spray? Like, I've literally shot them out of the sky. Like, as they're flying, I've been able to, like, on contact.
That wasp spray is amazing. Amazing.
Dude, that product
it's an amazing invention.
Hey, yes.
Yes.
And here in Florida, for those
But
of you who don't know, you have to have that on like surplus because there's wasps everywhere.
Right.
I had one. You know those on Darwintown when we were well, on Darwintown when we were talking about the sun bathing that I did. So I had my own run in. One time I went and sat down in the patio chair, and I'm like, there's wasps. I'm like, where are these damn things coming from? It was underneath the chair. So you picked like the worst spot to put a freaking nest.
They do that. No, they do that. They get in some serious spots, man.
Yeah, man.
But you know, and there's one in here right now. Right when Massey's here, getting rid of them because I said, look, I don't care what my wife told you, bro, but I need you to knock down every wasp scenario you see. I don't care if it looks like even if it's a potential scenario. Like if they're, I don't care yet. I don't care if they just built a teepee. You need to get rid of them. They don't belong and need to live here. And so right now, as he's out there, I even told him, I said, look, man, look, especially way up there near my office, because they get in the window. There's one a day that gets in that window. And I kill them. I don't know why it's never two. I kill them every day. And there's still another one that comes in. And right when I got up here, Trinity, to do this show, one already got in. He's actually in here. And so they're trying to escape the murdering and the crime against them that's happening outside at the moment. But right now they're dying. They are being
protesting.
Murdered as we
Wasp lives matter. And that's the bug, not the white Anglo-Saxon person, apparently.
But the good thing is that I got that salt gun, and you've seen my gun, my my pump little salt shotgun. I will shoot him out of the sky, so he will be dead too. Anyway, I had to share that because that's my wasp story. So anyway,
right on.
So what are we talking about today? This is We the Middle. We talk about some topics that sometimes people may have some opinions on. So let's start with one. Which one you want to start with?
In no particular order, I have them written down here. So I guess we'll stick with the theme of the day.
By the way, Richard Coleman on Facebook Live says, let's never talk about Trinity sunbathing.
I'm okay with that.
Please.
It probably would never happen again either, though. So, and by sunbathing, I mean I was just sitting in a chair for 5 minutes. Anyways,
I personally think that'd be a hell of a fundraiser if we get you in a Speedo, though. I think that'd be a hell of a fundraiser.
Not gonna happen.
That would be pretty cool and funny.
Not gonna happen. You have a better chance of me shaving my beard than putting a Speedo on, and neither one's gonna happen. So don't get excited.
Deal.
Yeah.
Oh no, let's do the Biden bump.
Yeah. Well, we're going to stick with the theme of the day, right? So our first topic, once again, in no particular order, we've got 4 of them written down.
All right.
And whatever might come up. And if you guys want to hear something, if you're watching us live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, or Twitch Live, by all means, you can put your own topic and we'll discuss that as well if you have something you want to add to the discussion. So anyways, first one is Biden. Of course, Biden has just tested positive for COVID. I feel him. I'm positive at the moment. I'm going to take another test right after the show to see if I'm still positive, although I think I am because my wife was positive yesterday. But yes, he is positive for COVID, although I think they've come out and announced it was mild symptoms. He's boasted about the multiple shots and vaccines that he's gotten, and maybe that's contributing to how mild they are. But I do notice there's a big difference in the way they're covering it from when Trump got it and when he's getting it. I just want to put that out there.
How'd they cover it when Trump got it?
When from what I witnessed, there was a lot of jubilation and you deserve it. Like it was very kind of rude when Trump got it. And then he himself, like he went to the hospital for a few days. Like they were pumping him full of different medication. Whereas when Biden has it, there's a lot of concern. He's not going to the hospital. There's a lot of talk about vaccines, things of that nature. It just feels different. Right. That's all. Like, and those are some of the things that I don't like. Is I'm not a Biden guy and I'm not a Trump guy. But I don't like the discrepancy. I don't like the concern that they're showing Biden and the happiness. I mean, he's still human. Like, come on, man. Like, it sucks. And I'm telling you, and you know what? I got a special spot in my heart right now for anybody who's had COVID. This sucks, dude. Mild or not, I don't care. This sucks.
You've changed completely on this topic.
This sucks, dude.
You finally got it. Well, at least you got the Biden strain, man. You're lucky, man. The Biden strain is not as bad. It's been around for a while.
Yeah.
This is not as potent as those original strains. Apparently, that's the good thing. Funny is it? Every here's a question, Trinity. Do you remember when some of you were saying that you were getting the vaccine because this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated?
Yeah.
Do you remember when you guys actually believed that the people with the vaccine were not the ones passing it around? Who do you think is passing it around, by the way? Or do you, if
Yeah.
you're still out there under the impression that only unvaccinated people give it to other people, I'd really like to know who you are. Because this is the weird thing, Trinity. You still just think about it for a second. I want you to follow a frame of thought here.
Sure.
There's still organizations that will force you to be vaccinated. Let's say it's a cruise boat.
My body, my choice.
Crew be vaccinated in order to go on the cruise. No, but why wouldn't they ask you instead? Why, if you really care, wouldn't we do a test prior to getting on the ship rather than being vaccinated before you? Because I can be vaccinated and still be positive. So if you truly don't want, that's what I'm saying. If you truly don't want COVID in a certain area, you don't ask them if they've been vaccinated. You test them prior to them getting into that area. That's what I'm not understanding, Trinity. Why people
they're definitely
still going, well, you have to be vaccinated in order to come to work. You have to be vaccinated in order to cross state lines. You have to be vaccinated to go to this country. You have to be vaccinated to get on a cruise ship. And I'm thinking, dude, vaccinated people get this all the time. Vaccinated people are equally as contagious as non-vaccinated people. The only person that vaccination is supposed to help, if that even, we have no proof, is the person who got it. And let me tell you something. I'm vaccinated and I was down for the count. My wife is unvaccinated and she was like, boop, 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 still cleaning the house, still doing everything because she eats healthy, eats well. She's in great shape. Boom. I have no idea why some people get sicker than others, but it has nothing that I can see that has anything to do with vaccination, at least not in my inner circle.
Well, we have the whole gamut here, right? So I'm vaccinated, and fully vaccinated with the first two, and it sucks. It hit me with I had like 103 plus degree fever. First couple nights were really brutal.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is also vaccinated, and because she works at the VA, they made her have the booster. So she's got the vaccinations and the booster, and she's down. She's still in there right now. Like as we speak, she's passed out on the couch, not doing good today. And then my mom had the vaccine, and she is of an age where she's considered high risk, and I don't even think she got a fever. Like she was just like totally fine. So we've got the whole gamut. So I do think it's interesting that so many places do take the vaccination as some sort of a weird like barrier. They're like, it's okay, I'm vaccinated. Like, but what does it even mean? Like, you still get it. It's weird.
It's just the Crips. The Crips are just like they're big into it. But let me ask you, and which is weird because actually the Bloods are the ones that made it come out, right? I still like to call it the Trump vaccination, the Trump vaccine, because it was during his time where he actually got. Yeah, that's what actually created. So I think it's really weird how the Crips came out and took ownership of it when it was the Bloods that actually made it push through real quick. And I remember when all the Crips
conveniently
were like,
forget.
You can't push the vaccination through. You'll never have it that quick, dude. I'm telling you, within that year, I don't know how it happened so fast, but by November we had it. And that was quick as hell. And then everybody was like, you can't do it. And then you did. And then as soon as the Crips took office, it's like, oh, we're the ones that did it. And all of a sudden, all the Blood said, you don't need it anymore. All of a sudden, the Bloods didn't want it.
Richard, thank you for the well wishes, man. Thank you. I'm feeling much better. My wife is not, but we'll get through it hopefully. But yeah, I agree, man. It's weird. It's like the other thing too, I find interesting. It just in an ironic fashion, and not to start like a not to kick the hornet's nest. The whole my body, my choice. Like each side is like so the people who are anti-abortion or pro-abortion, they're like, well, my body, my choice. They're the same people who like you have to get a vaccination. If you don't get one, you're a problem.
Yes.
And then but then the flip side is saying like no abortions, but like, it's just weird. Like nobody can be on the same like wavelength anymore. It's just
no, they don't stay on that side.
No,
they,
it's yeah,
well, they don't stay on the side because again, you can't kick you. If we're gonna kick a blood, if we're gonna kick a crip, we got to kick a blood. It's the same thing
yeah,
like the Bloods that say, no, it's a baby, so we're pro-life. But then when it comes to the death penalty, it's like kill him.
yeah, yeah.
There's no defining. Nobody stays on their side for all
No,
issues that are involved with that side.
which
And so
means
this
we're
is no different.
mostly in the middle, all of us.
Which means we're also actually in the middle. So look, I wish Biden well. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Trump had like it when it was still a more severe strain, and that dude walked like a champ through it, man. I don't know how he did it, but he did. Maybe it's because he drank bleach. I don't know. Just a joke. But Biden, I wish you well. I hope you get better. I definitely don't want anything to happen to you. I think selfishly, Trinity, to be honest with you, because I don't think Kamala is a good vice president choice. So I'm worried.
No, I don't know of anyone who thinks she's a good choice.
No, I want him to do well. I hope he's okay. Anybody with it just sucks to go through it, man. And look, Biden, you don't have to get up there and go like, I've been double vaccinated and double boosted, and that's why look, dude, why don't you lay in the bed, get your rest? You don't have to go out there and prove you're a cowboy. It's weird how we still do macho stuff, and yet at the same time, macho stuff is bad.
Yeah, toxic masculinity.
So why are you acting macho then? Yeah, don't be toxic, Biden. Just get your rest, man. You're allowed to be sick. You're allowed to
the other thing. The other thing that and part of the whole anti-vaccine thing, I don't think Biden and them realize that they're part of the problem. Because if you remember during the debates, when Trump was saying that they were going to have a vaccine very soon, and everybody was telling him that wasn't going to be possible, he said during the debate, well, if he comes up with a vaccine, I'm not going to take it. Like so then when he did come up with a vaccine, and then when you guys started telling people to take it, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth, because literally just a few months prior, you're telling everybody not to take it. And so it's like you created this problem. So weird,
dude. We would not have had a vaccine. We wouldn't have. The whole vaccine exists because of Trump. That's why I call it the Trump vaccine. But as soon as you call it a Trump vaccine, then the Crips don't want it. So as soon as Biden took ownership of it, then the Bloods didn't want it. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Weird,
it makes no damn sense. But you know what's weird is your vaccine, Trinity. When did you get vaccinated? When was your last vaccination, by the way?
I'm just guessing here.
Like, I did it when you did it, but I don't remember mine. So
I don't remember mine. It was a while ago.
I don't have my card on me. It was a year ago.
It was
seriously. Which means it's not
ago.
even effective anymore, Trinity. So you're really unvaccinated, right?
I guess technically
they said it only lasts 6 months, really, right? And they said the original ones didn't even last that long.
The other thing that bothers me, that has always bothered me, and once again, this is with many of the topics or the political arguments that are out right now, is there's like certain realities that people just don't want to address. Like they want to act as if there's no validity in it whatsoever. And to me, that's what creates some of this problem, is you can't even have a real dialogue where you can give kudos to someone who made a good point, right? Like for instance, nobody talks about natural immunity. It never enters the conversation. And if you mention natural immunity, somehow that makes you like this weird right-wing nut job. And it's like, well, no, like natural immunity is an actual thing, like it exists, but you're not allowed to talk about that because then that means you're anti-vax. Well, no, two things can be true. I can be, hey, you should probably get the vaccination, but I also acknowledge that there's probably people out there who have a natural immunity to it. Like you can't even be an adult anymore. Like there's no legit conversation, in so many of the topics, even the ones we're going to cover today. There's people on either side that just refuse to give any validity to the other side. It's ridiculous. That's part of the problem.
Yeah. It's because we're really not following science. When science is actually bought and paid for by one of the sides, now it's not even scientific. There's nothing scientific about it, and that's the sad thing. If we can't trust you guys, if we can't trust you because of your gang affiliation, then we're the ones that are in a bad situation. But the weird thing is, look, I got people very close to me that are also positive, just like you, Trinity, and all I keep hearing is, well, good thing we're vaccinated. It's like, how do you know? How do you know you're vaccinated?
What's your baseline?
Oh, because you didn't die. Yeah. So because you didn't die, were you feeling bad? Horrible. Worst flu you
Yeah.
had in a long time. Oh man, I haven't had a flu like this in a very long time. Did you have a high temperature? Yeah, for days. How about exhaustion? Oh man, I'm still exhausted. And I've already. So
Yeah.
how do you know the vaccination helped? Because that sounds horrible. Everything you just said sounds really bad.
Well, mind you, even people before the
What was supposed to
vaccination,
happen?
it was a 99% survival rate. So 99% of people who without a vaccine got it and survived. So like, I don't know. It's debatable. There's a thing going around that I think is kind of funny. I mean, obviously it cheapens it and it minimizes it, but it's still funny. They're saying basically like, hey, if I got my dog a bunch of rabies shots and he still got rabies, I'd have questions.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
so like I get it. Like obviously the science behind it
Yes.
said they've never said that it was going to be an immunity shot. Like I get that, but it kind of goes against like our normal expectations. When we hear vaccines, it typically means you're not going to get it, right? Like I got my kids, was it measles and
Yes.
stuff like that, and the expectation is that they'll never get those.
Yes.
Like polio, the polio
Yes.
vaccination
Yes.
isn't, hey, well, your polio won't be as bad as it normal. No, it's you're not going to get
Yes.
it. And so I think we once again
Yes.
there's some validity to the argument of, hey, if I'm vaccinated and I'm still getting
Right.
it, well then why the hell did I get vaccinated? Like you can't just dismiss
That's
that.
my
Like
point.
there's
That's why
some
I'm not getting anymore.
yeah, I mean there's
Yes.
validity in that, but they want to act as if by asking that you're some sort of weird pariah. Like how dare you question it? Well, I am questioning because
Right.
right now, bro, like I went and got hit by a needle twice and I'm fucking sick right now. Like,
Right.
yeah, that
Yeah.
why?
Plus,
So I don't know.
can you not envision this as a future? Imagine yourself. You're sitting at home. It's late at night. It's about midnight, 1 a.m. in the morning. You can't sleep, and you're sitting there watching your favorite television program. And
Black and
as you're
white show.
watching it, all of a sudden this commercial comes on. Yeah, black and white show. And a commercial comes on and says, "Were you vaccinated back in 2020,
Yes.
22? Do you remember getting the vaccinated? Because if
We've all
so,
got
Morgan and
mesothelioma
Morgan
now.
says, call this. Go to igotvax.com
Yeah.
and you too can be part of this lawsuit." Now, you do know that every single one of those lawsuits that, like right now, it's that Camp Lejeune one that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
It was always something the government said, okay. Seriously, how
Yeah,
many
well, that's the thing
medications have that
is,
commercial attached to
yeah.
it? I mean,
Well,
you know what I
we
mean?
always want to
If you
forget.
took this medication for this, it's constantly.
Well, we want to forget things like Tuskegee and stuff. Like those things are real. Our government has screwed us. I got one for you that's happening literally right now, and I guess I'll say it. Why not? So my wife works at the
Are you gonna
VA.
get us in trouble? Wait a minute.
No, I might get my wife in
Oh,
trouble.
okay.
But
Well,
my wife works at the VA right now, and in the VA, there are they're doing construction like in the VA. They're renovating things. They had like a flood right in the office that she works in, and this happened to me too at the postal service. So I when she said it, I immediately knew. So they're pulling up some of the tile work that was there, and there's asbestos under those tiles, and her government bosses were like, "Oh no, it's no big deal. It's nothing to be worried of." My wife was like, "Are
yeah.
you sure? Because there's like asbestos and it's like in the air." No, it's not in the air. Blah blah blah. We'll test it. And then she made a comment, and so when she actually made an inquiry, a written inquiry, suddenly people came in the next day and they weren't allowed to work in that area anymore. It was like, yeah, but prior to her speaking, they were just like, it's fine. And then when I was working at the postal service, back when anthrax was a scare, we thought that we had actual anthrax bust open, and all they did was put a tub on it and told us to keep working. So, as somebody who's connected to the government, I'm telling you right now, the idea that the government might do something shady to us, it's not really that far fetched, man.
Yeah.
Let's stop pretending like that's never happened. History is full of situations where our government has fucked us. So, like, come on, man. Like, stop acting like it's an unreasonable thing to question them pushing a vaccine on us.
And let me tell you, and ask yourself this, Trina. Like, look, both you and I are vaccinated, right? We did what we had to do. We got vaccinated.
Yes.
We didn't fight it too bad, man, because just in case, right? Just in case.
Mhm.
I just wanted to work. I just wanted to make sure that I could still travel, and they weren't letting me travel without it, so I did it. But if you and I had a child under 5 years old, Trinity, I'm asking you a serious question. Would you allow a vaccine into your child under 5 years old?
My kids right now
Honestly.
are 10 or 11 and soon to be 13, and neither one of them are vaxxed.
All right.
And they're not going to be.
Would you allow it? Would you? Exactly. There is no damn way that I have seen anything, written anything, reviewed anything, heard anything that I would even consider allowing a child under the age of 5 to be vaccinated. Are
Yeah.
you What are we experiencing? Now, I'm not saying, look, if you're a parent out there and you want to do it for your child, look, man, you go ahead and do it. Maybe you read something differently. Maybe you studied something differently. But I'm telling you, uh, if you did, they're not doing a good enough job to actually show it and prove it, because there ain't no damn way that if I had
Yeah.
a grandchild under 5, I would even let my daughters do it. I'd be
I've
like,
actually
hell
seen the opposite.
no.
There's some stuff in my own doctor, dude. Like, I'm friends with my kid's doctor. Like, I used to work out with him prior to me having kids. So when I had kids, I immediately
Right.
that he was our
Right.
doctor. And so he pulled me to the side when all this COVID stuff, and he advised me not to get my kids vaccinated. And he told me to look up
Right.
Japan. So I did. I looked up
Right.
Japan, and there's some questions as far as the validity of what they came up with, but essentially what they came up with is don't do it for kids.
Hell no.
Yeah,
Hell no.
my kids aren't vaccinated, and they
Hell
won't
no,
be.
dude. Let me tell you something. I've seen some of you parents not give your kid a peanut because you don't know whether that kid is allergic to a peanut, or if they can swallow a peanut, eat a peanut, digest a peanut, and you're going to give them a vaccine.
Yeah, no, my favorite
You know
part.
how you're going to what?
No, here's this. So once I actually am going through this, like I have younger kids, and we've had to make these
Right.
decisions. And my
Right.
ex, she mentioned first that she just was. I was kind of neutral. At the time, my kids weren't even old enough to get any of the vaccination, so I just it never even entered in my head to even worry about it yet because it wasn't a thing. But she preempted it by letting me know that she wasn't comfortable with it. Um,
Mhm.
and she made some pretty good arguments that I didn't have any answers to. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like I'm kind of on the
Yeah.
fence at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but when the ages were dropping, when I
Right.
think I was getting my 17-year-old, she wanted to get vaccinated, so I took her to get it. But while we were there was a pharmacist in the back who was injecting. I asked him, I said, hey, one of the concerns that was been brought up to me for my little one, my 11-year-old, or she was 12 at the time, 12-year-old, is like reproduction. Like, is this going to affect that? Like, we don't know what this is. And their answers, like, it's almost as if they just assume either they are stupid or they assume that we're all stupid.
Right.
So, because she was like, oh, yeah, no, there's nothing that's going to affect that or whatever. I'm like, hold up. How could you possibly know? What testing has been done for
They don't.
decades, right? It's like,
None.
what I equate it to, it sounds trivial, but what I equate it to is,
Mhm.
is like tattoos, right? A lot of the problems with like newer
Right.
tattooed people or tattooer artists, I should say,
Right.
is they don't know the techniques that they're using, what that's going to heal like yet. In other words, it's trial and error,
Right.
right? They've got this new client and they're tattooing for the first time, and that's their first client. Well, they have no clue if their tattoo ability is going to withstand the test of time yet, because they don't
Right.
know. They won't know for another 5 or 10 years until they see that person how their
No.
craftsmanship would hold up over
No.
time. It's literally
Right.
impossible to know unless you're 5 or 10 years
No.
down the line to know, okay, yeah, I need to get better at this. I need to work on that.
Right.
So when you tell me this
Right.
vaccine is a completely safe, I call bullshit because
Right.
nobody, especially children, have had it even in their system long enough to know what
Right.
the long-term effect. Now you're guessing, and that's fine. Give me an educated guess. I get it, and tell me what you base that educated guess on. But
Right.
stop lying to me and tell me it's anything other than a guess. Because let's be
Right.
honest, if you know science, it's a fucking guess, dude. You don't know.
Right.
You're
Right.
guessing based upon X, Y, and Z that nothing should happen in the next 5 or 10 years. It should be fine.
Right.
But how
Right.
many situations have we all been in when a doctor
Yes.
has told us this should be such and such, and then it turns out they were wrong? I know I've had it myself. I know at least 10 other people who've had an interaction with a doctor that turned out to, because they call it the practice of medicine. It's
Well,
practicing.
exactly. And Trinity,
Go ahead.
and Trinity, and before anybody thinks, well, but do you think your parents should be vaccinated? Yes, because I don't anticipate my parents are going to live the same amount of years as a
Yeah.
little child is going to live. So by the time maybe some of these vaccines can actually hurt you, time has already done that. So
Yeah.
yes, I want my parents to continue their vaccinations. I am okay with my parents continuing their boosters. I'm talking about when you're younger and you're in
Yeah.
shape and healthy. look, man, the risks may not be as bad as the risk of doing the vaccine. And until you
Yeah.
prove that otherwise, I can't speak any differently. That's all I'm saying. I'm not getting
And
any
don't forget,
further vaccines or
don't-
boosters unless I absolutely am forced to do
and
so.
don't
I'm done with
forget
that.
though, there's another thing here that drives me bonkers that you're
Well,
not even allowed to say, because I've actually had friends and even myself.
yeah,
You if you
right,
post this on social
right,
media, you get
yeah,
flagged,
right.
which is weird because it's
Yeah,
factual. Don't
you
forget,
can't challenge.
99% success rate here, people. Like
Right,
99% of the people, vaccinated or not,
right,
live. It's
right,
literally like 1% that die from this. Like you're not
right,
even allowed to mention that the overwhelming majority of people who get COVID live, and it just they're fine. Like you
right.
can't
Now,
even talk about.
and now, trust me, Trinity. If my personal surgeon that I'm currently dealing with, my neurosurgeon, says you need to get it, that's a different story. I will
Yeah,
believe
of
my
course,
neurosurgeon. That person
of
actually
course.
cut my head open,
Yeah,
went into my brain, cut my skull. That person, I believe. I don't believe you, CNN. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I appreciate it, Donald Trump, for the vaccine. I appreciate what you did and that you created the Trump vaccine. Biden, I appreciate you for your distribution, that you distributed the Trump vaccine. But now I'm done. We're no longer having this conversation because it doesn't prevent me from getting anything. And as
But you
long as
see,
it doesn't prevent me from getting anything, stop equating it to the vaccines that you took to go to school, because that's the other argument. They keep on going, well, you guys do believe in vaccines, you
yeah.
bloods, because you take vaccines to go to school. Those are different. That's the polio, that's the measles ones
Well,
that Trent
by
was
the time
talking
I
about.
got those
Those actually
vaccinations,
prevent it.
well,
Those
by the
prevent
time I
it.
got those vaccinations, they've been around for 30 years too. Like
Right,
they're not like
right.
brand. I wasn't the first one, but my problem with
Yeah.
this whole thing is literally what you just had to do. That's my problem. Where we're at right now, you just felt the need. You felt compelled to
Right.
justify your stance. You felt the need to say,
Yes.
"Now, I'm not talking about if my doctor tells me." And that's my problem is you
Right.
can't even have dialogue anymore. You can't even question things without being
Right.
accused of being like an anti-vaxxer,
I'm not an
right? Like,
anti-vaxxer. Yeah.
no, neither one of us are.
No.
And that's my problem though, is I'm not, I have the vaccine. My wife has it. My mother
Yeah.
has it.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
regret it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I can be a reasonable adult and get the
Yes.
vaccine, but still have
Yes.
questions. I can still
Dude,
say, I don't know. Like, there's
absolutely.
no room for debate anymore. If you have a reasonable
Right.
question, instead of saying, "Hey, that's a good
Right.
question, let's address it," no, it's, "Well, you're
Yeah.
anti-vax." But no,
Yeah.
like we can still have
Yeah.
discourse, people. Like, come on,
And
man.
and and my wife's decision was not politically motivated. My wife is that person. My wife does not like putting things in her body that are bad. Look,
Yeah,
it's my wife that makes me
which is
buy
reasonable.
freaking organic cage-free eggs. She makes me spend more money
It's
on
so expensive.
stupid freaking cage-free organic eggs because she eats healthy. But you know what? That's the same person that she says, you know what, Louis, if you want to get the vaccine, good, but don't. I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it, and I have to respect that. You know, motivated. We made decisions based on I had to do it because I know, Marissa, you say that you can travel with it, but not at that time. At that time, the pharmaceutical company that hires me to
Yeah.
go speak country forced it upon me, so that's why I had to do it. And then, but my wife didn't have the same occupation as I do. Her occupation is here within the house. She has
Yeah.
a beautiful lifestyle that she's able to have, and I'm not forcing her to get a vaccine. So whatever her decision is her decision. I don't challenge that. So for everyone out there, just please understand. And that's the weird thing, Trinity. A lot of the same people out there that eat organically, do yoga, and all that stuff are the same ones that says, "I'm going to get vaccinated."
Yeah.
It's the same people. It's the same people
Yeah.
that are all healthy and stuff
Suddenly,
like
you
that.
trust your
They're doing
government
it. So
hands down.
look, let's just all of a sudden you want to put it in your system. Look, put it in your system, but don't get mad at others for not. And Biden, I'm glad you did. You know why I'm glad you did? Because you're an elderly person. You're an old elderly
Yeah.
person with all kinds of issues. You barely remember your own name. So yes, you should be vaccinated, boosted. I hope you got some
Yeah.
extra doses. Look, I hope you're on some other medications too. I hope you're on some medication that helps you go regularly. I hope you're on some fiber stuff. I hope you're taking vitamins. I hope you're on
Little
memory
Flintstone
pills. I
vitamins.
hope you're on all kinds. Dude, I hope you're taking everything you can take. Why? Because you're the president of the United States, and I want you to live as long as you can. Long live the king. That's what I say. So yes, I hope you're well,
Man.
and I hope you're doing well. But to politicize and get on TV and goes, it's because I have double vaccine. and I've been double boosted. Man, you have no scientific basis to prove that that's why you're experiencing the symptoms
Yeah.
where you're experiencing.
Yeah.
It's like we lost our damn minds, man. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I hope you're well, and I hope you stay well. All right.
Right on.
Yep. Ginkgo biloba for the brain, Marissa. That's exactly right. All right.
Yeah.
What's the
Once
next
again, no particular order. I'm gonna just rattle these out. So, the second one that I wrote down here is the January 6th hearings that are still apparently going on, and apparently they're prime time. You enlightened me to that. I'll be honest with you. I've been kind of checked out ever since I got COVID. Man, I kind of just went into weird autopilot. So, but go ahead. Apparently, they're still on.
Prime time, bro. Prime time. Listen, if that doesn't give you a clue of what's going on here. Primetime television. Listen, people, when do they put things on primetime? What shows do we see in primetime? Think about that for a second. That is the most valuable time of television. The commercials during primetime cost more than anywhere else. And even our local Channel 13, our news channel 13, just cut out all news yesterday, and it was just January. Channel 13. Did you not know that I could have flipped to another channel to watch the January 6th hearing? Did you news channel have to just show that? Are you telling me there were no murders that day? There were no robberies that day? There were no weather issues that day? There was nothing else that you could have talked to me about that day? Did I have to listen to this politically motivated manipulation of information for one-sided opinion only? Because dang it, man, I know that we've had to use the words allegedly for so many types of criminals. We've had to use the word allegedly,
even when there's video evidence.
And then all of a sudden, now we've had to say it like it's factual, even if it's hearsay. It's factual. Even if someone's saying, I think I heard it from my brother's cousin and he heard that, it's factual. And then it takes up prime time. You've gone way too far. Let me tell you something. Look, if you want to believe what you believe during all this thing and you want to be highly into it, then you could be highly into it. I don't care. That's your opinion. It's going to be your vote. You're allowed to believe what you want. But as soon as you see it in prime time, don't you know what they're doing? Don't you understand the reason that prime time is utilized? You think it's for what purpose? You know, who do you think they're playing to? They're trying to get to us, the middle. They're trying to come to the middle because look, first of all, if you're a Crip, they didn't need to show you any part of January 6th hearing at all. You've already believed what you believe. You think Trump and all the people there were trying to overthrow the government and take it over as if it was Venezuela. You already believe that. You think Trump is Fidel Castro. You already believe that. And if you're a blood, I don't care what they show you. There ain't no damn way you're taking. They could show you visual proof of Trump saying, let's go take over the Capitol. I'm the new Fidel Castro. And you'd be like, they've doctored that video. I don't believe it.
That's not what he meant.
You're not going to believe it anyway. Right. So they're only trying to get us, we the middle. That's who they're coming after. And they know we the middle. We haven't been watching it during the day. Why? Because we the middle go to damn work. We work. We can't be home all day watching the January 6th hearing. So they're coming to us in the middle and they're going, oh, we know when you watch TV, you're trying to watch 90 Day Fiance. So we're going to come at you in prime time. You're trying to watch the new Alone season of Frozen. You know, we're going to come at you. And they're trying to attack us, Trinity, in the middle and make us watch this case. We don't give a damn. We in the middle don't give a damn. We don't. It's no longer January. We will utilize our vote however we choose to. We will vote who we feel is the best candidate at the time. But you're doing a preemptive strike, and you're trying to predict of who's going to run and who's not going to run, and you're trying to gear up and prepare yourself for the next election cycle. We, the middle, really don't give a damn until it's time to vote. We just don't.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, man. I stopped caring about January 6th on January 7th. Like, I don't really care. I tried so hard to care. I do. And I've listened to the arguments. but it just feels like
Right.
such bullshit to me. Like when I sat there and I watched
Yeah.
for an entire summer, people burning down cities, burning down police cars, burning down federal buildings, just losing their minds and being told that it was
Yeah.
mostly
Yeah.
peaceful protesting. I have friends on the force here in Orlando that are having bags of urine thrown at them, and somehow that's
Yeah.
okay. Like, you're not going to get me then all of a sudden to be fired up because some people went and like took some selfies, inside the
Don't
Capitol
care.
building, because that's really what
Don't
happened.
care.
Like, most of what happened there was like selfies and like just BS. Like, nobody,
Yep.
the only person that got hurt was
Yep.
one person who decided to like try to climb through a window with a person with a gun on the other end saying, "Don't do this or
Right.
I'm going to shoot you." And then they got shot. The other people that were murdered there, or excuse me, killed there, it was from like heart attacks and stuff. So it wasn't even directly related to anything that happened. So you're not going to convince me that that was this big deal. And what I don't like is what you were just alluding to, is they keep putting stuff out like fact, right? Like, so
Right.
you and I don't know if you even have it turned on or not. I'm probably going to turn mine off, but since we opened up
Well,
Dope and Dharma Twitter, for those of you who are watching, follows on Twitter, we're on Dope and Dharma Twitter. Neither
mhm,
one of us really ever use it,
mhm.
but regardless, but because of that, I don't know how, but somehow I guess we're following. Maybe it was me that did it. I went and followed the different political things just to have input coming in. And one of the
Yeah.
ones that I apparently followed was Occupy Democrats, I think it's called. I don't even know who they are or what they're about, but I keep getting updates from my Twitter thing, and it's about the stupid January 6th stuff. And so I'll get an update and says major development, blah blah blah. And so I was like, okay, well, it's major. Let me see what this is. I'll click on it, and there's some stupid ass like, oh well, major blow because they admitted that he has 10 toes. Oh, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like this. But the problem that I have with that is there are so many people out there who don't critically think, who will just read that headline and walk away thinking, oh my gosh, this
Right.
is like the biggest thing ever.
Right.
And then you're asking like, well,
Right.
why? Like, because when we had that
Right.
show a while back, when we said, is it really a big deal, right? Not on air because we just didn't
Right.
have enough guests that day, I guess. But afterwards, I've had people come to me and have
Right.
conversations and say, yeah, it is. And my question to them is always, why? Well, because it was attack on
Yeah.
democracy. How? Like, how is it any different?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like the if you take away the talking points, if you ask anybody to legitimately like describe to me how it really impacted anything, no talking
Right.
points, no vitriol, no fucking chicken little the sky's falling, just logistically explain to me how it made anything different. They can't, because it didn't do anything. Like, it was nothing. But like, people are losing their minds, and yeah, so it's on prime time and they're putting stuff out there as if like some factual statement, when it was just some chick basically saying, well, I heard the President Trump tried to like Jason Bourne choke somebody out. Dude, his big old ass is not jumping across choking anybody out in a limo like that. Stop. Like, come on, dude. Like, let's just be
Uh,
reasonable here.
Trinity, you said attack on democracy. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let's talk about attacks on democracy. Didn't we not have a presidential candidate say, I am going to choose a black female as a vice president running mate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Not, I'm going to choose
Wait a
the most
minute. So,
qualified person,
right,
and
right.
it's going
Wait,
to be
wait.
open to all.
Democracy had already said, we don't want her in the campaign, right? There was a bunch of you standing up there,
Yeah.
and democratically, people voted who they like better. I guarantee you she didn't come in second.
No.
Guarantee you she didn't come in second.
I think it was
But the
Buttigieg
attack,
that came in second.
right, the attack on democracy
Yeah.
was, you guys had Sanders, you didn't put him up. You guys had Buttigieg, you didn't put him up. No, what you chose was the old white man that has been in government for over 40 something friggin' years, that had all this
Yeah.
baggage with his son up, has been there, has said the world's stupidest thing, like, if you ain't black, you ain't black if you don't vote for me.
Yeah.
That's the guy you put up. That's
Yeah.
the guy you put up. And the only reason you put him up is because you couldn't get Obama. You knew he had Obama cred.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
my friend, is an attack on democracy. Because if not,
Yeah.
you would have put Sanders up. Sanders was the one that had the most push and
Yeah.
pull from that side. He had the most support from that side. But you felt Sanders can't beat Trump. And that's why Sanders keeps getting pushed aside. He got pushed aside when Trump won. He got pushed aside the second time when Trump lost. So that is the attack on democracy, not January 6th.
Well, I would argue another
that's my
attack,
point. Because go ahead.
I'm gonna piss some people off with that one though. But I'm just, once again, not emotionally. Let's just look at just numbers, statistics, and logic and reasoning here.
Oh boy.
Democracy is
I'm
usually
worried now.
majority rules, right? Like majority. The majority of people will vote,
Yes.
how they feel. Well, I
Yes.
would venture to say, is the LGBTQ whatever community, are they the majority of people? In other words, if you take a poll of every United States citizen and ask them, "Are you in this group or are you not?" Do you
Okay.
really think the majority is going to say they are in that group? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say the percentage is relatively small, and yet
Okay.
we
I'm
as
following
a
you.
society are bending the knee, constantly making these special rules and everything else to accommodate this section of the population. Which, once again, I think they have all the rights and everything else, but this idea that we have to somehow all bend the knee and mitigate our way of life to accommodate, that doesn't feel very democratic to me. That feels like we're bending to a special interest group. That feels like we're all moving to like help a small group. I'm not saying the stuff where we give them equal rights and things of that nature. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Right.
we're like
And
we're arguing about bathrooms, we're arguing about all sorts of craziness
but
that doesn't feel majority to me.
I think that's why we have to qualify. Let me see if I understand you correctly, because I think
Sure.
I do. I don't think it's about the LGBT. Well, let's just start LBG. Let's just start. I don't think it's about the LGB community. I think once the other letters start getting added on, I think that's where some of the discomfort comes into play. I think that's where when our pronouns are more important than our adjectives. And what I mean by that
Yeah.
is, I really do feel that all you people out there that are listening and watching, your adjectives mean a lot to me than your pronouns. I'm not trying to discount your pronouns, but I care more about if you're kind, loving, caring. See, when I die, I hope that in my eulogy, you, Trinity, don't stand up there and go, he was a male. He was a
He was
he.
heterosexual.
He was he was a Mexican he. No, I want you to get up and say he was a good guy. He'd be there for you. You can call him anytime you need him. He gave people chances. I think my adjectives of what I've done in my life, the things that I've done, I think that means more to me. And I think we're losing that when you start
Yes.
viewing me as just brown instead of being a good person. I don't want you to view me just for my color. I don't want you to view me from my culture. I don't want you to view me by my sexual orientation. My adjectives are what's important, and your adjectives is what's important. And I think that's where we should go. So to me, that's where it becomes an issue. Not anyone's sexual orientation, but when we start changing the way we speak because you may be insecure about your own personal pronouns, that you may be insecure whether I'm accepting you. I'm accepting you, but that doesn't mean I want to change the way I speak. That doesn't mean that I no longer want to call my mom a mom or have Mother's Day. That doesn't mean I no longer want to say, my wife is pregnant. Oh, I don't want to say my birthing partner is pregnant.
Yeah.
I don't want to. So I think there's a difference. I think I do believe that most LGBs are in 100% agreement with
Yeah.
but they get sucked
that's my
into
point.
some of that craziness.
That's my
because
point.
they linked them all together. And the only people excluded from Q plus IQA category
Heterosexual
are straight people.
Yeah, but that's my
those
point.
Are the only people excluded.
That's my
so
point.
You might. So now, we are the ones that are excluded, and I want to be included. I want to be included in that.
Mind you, we're the majority of the country. That's my point. Is, mind you, we are the majority of the country. The majority of the country is not.
I don't know. Television is saying otherwise. I think
that's my point.
And regular TV shows today are telling us, no, this is everywhere, all around you, more than you think, and there's more trans people than Asians, because I can find more trans. There's more conversation and more discussion about trans and all the other letters in that
This bullshit.
LGBTQIA plus
I'm gonna just
questioning
bullshit.
than even Asians.
Bullshit.
You know, there's
I
more
saw a
trans
thing earlier
people
today.
than
I was
than Muslims on TV.
I was,
There's more
I
trans
was watching a
people
video. Hold on.
and all that.
I was watching a video early
Right.
today, and they put a graphic on the thing because they were talking. There was a debate about this community, and they were saying how
Mhm.
people are dying every day because
Right.
because of the fact that they're trans, right?
Right.
You want to take a guess at the number of people in I think it was 2021 that died, that were murdered as trans people? You want to take a stab at
What?
that number?
No. 5.
370, I think it was.
Okay.
That's not even the amount of people who died from peanuts last year. Like, I'm not for the people who were the 300 some people. It's devastating and it's horrible, and one is too many. But to act like it's this major like pandemic that, oh my god, we got to do something about this. Oh my, we're all dying in the street.
Right.
You're not though. Like, more
Right.
people have died during this conversation from
And-
stupid things.
Right.
And so, like, is it a problem? Sure. Is it this horrible problem that we all have to drop everything and go? No, it's not. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Is I'm tired of like these tiny little groups swaying the whole majority of people. Like, is it a problem? Yes. Does it need to be dealt
Right.
with? Yes. Is it the number one problem in this country? No, it's not.
Right. So you feel
Like,
that this January 6th they're kind of doing that, right? You think that
yes, they're blowing this
they're
so
trying to
far
they're
out of
trying to make it
proportion.
seem like this 30 to 40,000 group people that were out there that were all that many of they're trying to say that many of them were armed, yet not one of them shot their
None
gun
of them
and killed
shot
anybody
anybody.
on the other side.
Yeah.
Not
If you look at the
one of
damage,
them shot anybody.
but look at the
Not
damage.
one.
Even the damage that was done was like like $80. You know what I mean? I'm being facetious here, but the amount of damage that was done was nothing.
Yeah,
It was
I know.
minuscule compared to one night in the
They didn't
summer
burn it down.
where they
didn't
burned
burn it
down
down.
like
Yeah.
cities and stuff. And to mind you, in the summer, this happened every single night for like months. So the damage of just one day is more than like that 2-hour episode at the Capitol. But they're wanting to make this seem like we're all like, oh my god, the sky is falling. Like, shut up.
And again, let's not forget the only reason it's on prime time right now is because they're afraid that Trump is going to win. They're afraid that they're going to lose in the midterms, and they're afraid that Trump is coming back and he's going to win. That's the only reason it's on prime time. They know that if they discredit Trump, if they get him arrested finally. Now, mind you, this is
He'd been trying for so long.
New Yorker billionaire that has probably had more enemies than all of us together. Anyone that's ever watches this show, all of us together. And they haven't been able to find enough dirt on this dude to get him arrested. This is like the Al Capone, right? You know how Al Capone, they finally got him on tax evasion. I think right now they're going to find him. We got something. We didn't get him at Russiagate.
No, it's not Gotti, the Teflon Don.
Remember, we went through this. The entire time he was in office, he's been getting investigated. And you guys haven't got him yet? So eventually, I guarantee eventually you're going to get him. Eventually, you're going to find something on him that you can arrest him for. Good for you. I guarantee every single one of you that are on that panel, it'll take a lot less effort to find something that'll get you arrested. A lot less effort. So let's not kid ourselves. So again, January 6th, is it a big deal? It might be a big deal to some. I'm not going to pretend to say that that it's not a big deal to all, because I'm sure there's some individuals there that were traumatized. I'm sure there's individuals there that it's a serious thing for them. But for us as a nation, or attack on democracy as a nation, no, it's not that. It's not that. It's not the biggest thing that happened ever. No. The Tea Party was bigger. You know what I mean? The Civil War, that was a hell of a lot bigger. Abe Lincoln getting shot, that was a hell of a lot bigger. The ending of slavery in America, that was so much bigger. Ronald Reagan,
I would say JFK.
That was a lot bigger.
The JFK shooting.
Yeah, JFK, that was a lot bigger. We've had so many bigger moments in history that really changed a lot of things. Just you're using this for politics. You know it. That's why it's on prime time.
Yeah.
That's why it's on prime time. It's just silly.
It's ridiculous.
Next topic.
All right. So this one I don't have a graphic for because I'm I'm doing an audible here, and I don't really
Are you
know if we
serious?
have a lot. Yeah, I don't know if we have a lot
What are you
to
talking
say
about?
about it, but I want to at least mention it.
Okay.
Because
All right.
I don't think it's being talked about enough. It's weird to me. Once
Okay.
again, it's if you tune into one channel, that's all they're talking about. If you tune into another channel, it's barely mentioned,
Okay.
and that is, we
What
had
is
another
it?
shooting happen at a mall not too long ago. It was like a couple days ago, and a guy went to the mall and he opened up fire and he started shooting people, and it lasted all of about, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute. And the reason why I was cut so short is because there's another dude there who had a concealed carry weapon on him, and he opened fire and killed the guy. He was a civilian, just a regular guy, and it was the classic NRA. What stopped the bad guy with a gun was a good guy with a gun. So it was a kid there. He was 22, and he saw this thing happening. He had a gun on him. He pulled it out. He shot the guy, killed him. Boom, mass shooting over with. And he was the only reason why it stopped was because the good guy with the gun was actually there to shoot him. Had he have not been there,
Uh-huh.
that story would have been a hell of a lot worse. And once again, I'm not trying to advocate that every single person should walk around shooting other people. Like, I'm not getting into all that. What I'm getting
Yeah.
into is it's not even like news agencies do not want to cover. Hey, this dude stopped it because he had one. Like, we can't pretend like that doesn't exist. And that's what pisses me off about this gun argument is there's no shortage of people saying that, hey, guns are, it's a travesty that these kids are dying and things of that nature, which we all agree on. I don't know of anybody that doesn't agree with that, but they don't want to talk about the millions of people who have their lives saved every year from guns. Like, had it not been for this gun, that body count would have been a hell of a lot higher. That dude was not interested in not shooting people. And if it wasn't for that kid in like 15 seconds it was to open fire, who knows what would have happened.
Yeah.
But they don't want to cover it, and it pisses me off because it's just like they want to ignore the other half of the equation because it doesn't fit their narrative. And that, to me, if you're
Yeah.
listening to this and if you're one of the people that do it, I don't care what side you're on, you're part of you are the problem, right? You make every
Yeah.
situation 100 times worse than it needs to be as far as debates and anger and everything else. Because when you don't validate legitimate issues, you're the problem. I don't care how in love
Yeah.
you are with your side. Just make a better freaking argument. Don't pretend like the other argument doesn't exist because we all know it does. We're not stupid. We know, we can see it with our own eyes that it exists. So you lose credibility when you don't acknowledge it. You lose credibility when you don't address it. When you try to act like it doesn't exist, that's what creates the problems. We can't have an actual dialogue where we say, yeah, you know what? You're right. Shoot a bunch of kids in the school with an AR-15, that sucks, dude. Like, we got to figure out a better way. But there's also a lot of people who get saved. Like, you have to acknowledge it, and they don't. That's what's pissing me off.
I agree, Trinity. Why leave off information? Why partially? Why do we get partial news sometimes? Even if they do cover it, they leave off that little bit of information that goes against
Yeah,
their narrative. They
yeah,
just leave like when they were talking about the unfortunate incident with the 10-year-old girl. They deliberately called the guy Ohio man rather than a person that was in this country illegally. Just be honest. I mean, that doesn't make us hate illegals. I'm a Latino. I can handle it. I'm legal. But the point is that when you leave off that information, you know why you left it off. You
yeah.
you know
We
why
all
you left
do.
off that
We all
information.
see
If you're a
through
news
it.
broadcaster, yeah, just you got to give the whole story. And if I remembered what story it was, I think it was this morning when I woke up. I forget what was big this morning when I woke up. And then a little bit of information was left off, and it was like, wow, I don't know why you just didn't say that. Well, you know why you just didn't say that. And I forget what it is now, but it's constant. Even in this situation, they can't talk about it because if they talk about it, they have to add that little information. Or if they do talk
Yep.
about it, they'll just say, the shooting was thwarted. Like, he
Yeah.
was he was
He was stopped.
he was stopped, but they won't say how
Yeah.
he was stopped or why he was
Yeah.
stopped. Oh, I know what it was. The Disney thing, the fight in the Disney. When
Oh,
they
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
that fight, when they talked about the fight at Disney, they leave off certain information because there's
Like the
nothing
race.
there to get on. Apparently, uh, it was no, yeah, they left off all race information,
Yeah. Unless they were
because
all
that
white, and then
may
they put
be a
that front
bad
and center.
thing. Just or unless it was white towards black. So they leave off that information. Look, we know why you're leaving off the information. You don't need to leave it off. We're big.
Yep.
We're big boys and girls. You can. We're big boys and girls and theys. You can give us that information. We can handle the information, right? I mean, why leave it off?
But it's just the problem though
But
is
yeah,
we're not
that's
in the age anymore where this information just doesn't get out, right? There's another channel that's going to cover it. Like,
Yeah.
so it's not like you can sweep it. No, it's going to get out. So just
right.
acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
don't
it.
just you're so disingenuous and I don't trust you when I know that you're leaving stuff out, man. Like I
Right.
said, you know the I'm telling you, man, the one that really rocked my world as far as almost like extremed, like me, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but like I always didn't trust the media. I always knew they were kind of up to it, but the one that just put me over the edge because it was just so glaringly like obvious and it was just like it really rubbed me the wrong way was the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. Because
Oh yeah.
I texted you earlier that day when I actually saw the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff before the media got it because I was
Yeah.
on the Reddit subforums, and so I saw like
Right.
real time
Right.
people putting videos. And so between Andy Ngo, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Nyao. Yeah.
Between
Nyao.
yeah,
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah, between him and just the Reddit subreddit where people were
Right.
just posting their own videos, I watched the entire day essentially unfold on what Kyle went through.
Right.
And I knew exactly what it was. It was plain as day if you watch the videos. Like no reasonable person could watch the videos from beginning to end, edited to where it was like, you could see the whole day. No reasonable person would look at that and walk away with thinking anything other than what it actually turned out to be. But later that
Yeah.
night, when I saw the news pushing it, somehow in that time frame he became a white supremacist. Somehow it was
Yeah.
racially motivated. Somehow
Yeah.
like all these crazy things. And I was like, wait a minute, that's not what happened. Like it's literally plain as day. Like there's actual video evidence of this. And we found out later on that the FBI had their own drone surveillance video of it as well. So it was like there was no mistaking it. But when it hit the media, somehow
And
it got turned to all these crazy things. And what happened when he went to court? It all came out and he was found to be exactly what it was, an unfortunate incident where he defended himself. But for me, when the media
those street
didn't
reporters
cover it,
saved his life.
yeah,
No,
man,
those street reporters that you're talking about, Andy
yeah,
Nagao, saved that kid's life. That kid would be
yeah,
rotting in jail right now. There's
yeah.
no
Without
doubt
video
that kid would be
evidence, he'd be
rotting.
done.
That kid would be in jail.
Yeah,
There's no doubt.
yeah,
There's no doubt. Because if you just go by behavior alone, and you go by all the testimony, because the testimony they were saying, even they came up and tried to punch and all that stuff
yeah.
that was
It's
happening.
all BS. Yeah,
it
they
would
lied
make
on
you go like,
stand, mind you.
wow,
Yeah,
wow,
they
wow, wow.
lied on stand
Yeah,
saying,
the
"Oh, I was
video
trying to do
showed
this."
you. The
Yeah,
video, showed you how calm he was. Showed you
yeah,
that only people that threatened his life got shot. Those
yeah,
that did not threaten his life didn't
yeah.
get shot.
And what was horrible about that though is the
Should the
people
kid
who
have
were
had a gun? No,
anti.
he shouldn't have had a gun.
Well, that's debatable, right? Like it's his legal right to have it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But
whether he should or shouldn't
I'm
is
just
a
saying.
personal thing.
I'm just saying whether we liked it or not. No, nobody really
Yeah,
liked that he had a gun. But the point is, but he didn't misuse it.
no. But so my problem is the people who were very anti-gun and anti, white kids right now apparently. They took it and ran with it. They left out all the things. They left out that they threw a flaming Molotov cocktail at the kid. They left out that the people who pulled a gun and tried to shoot him. Like they left out all that stuff. And it's like, dude, you lose all credibility with me when you just leave out stuff. And they're doing it with everything that's quote unquote important.
What?
When they were doing the Roe v.
What's right?
Wade, they left out the fact that no, the Supreme Court didn't do anything. The Supreme Court actually said we don't have the authority to tell you yes or no. Like they left that out. They made it seem as
They
if
put it in democracy's hands. They gave it to democracy.
Yeah, they made it seem like Kavanaugh himself was like, nope, screw this, and that's not what happened. That's not what the Supreme Court even does. Like, and so they're making these people protest and hate. They had a dude show up to try to shoot Judge Kavanaugh, all because why? Because the way you're reporting stuff, like stop it. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Like seriously, if you're in media right now, take a long, hard look at yourself. Like, stop, dude.
Well, remember the kid
Anyways.
that was another video that saved a kid's life, or at least saved him something and got him paid, was the kid that the Native American dude was right in his face, just antagonizing.
Oh yeah,
the kid.
yeah,
there. The kid stood there, man. I don't know how he did it because I would have punched the crap out of that dude. but he's right in his face, just hammering that drum. If we wouldn't have had that video evidence and we would have just went by the stories, that
Oh,
kid would have
he
been
was that
persecuted.
white kid was public enemy #1 for like 3
Yeah,
days
dude. Thank God
until
he
the other
got
video
paid.
came out.
Thank
Yeah.
God he got paid, man. You guys all made him a millionaire, because
Yeah, Marissa just commented
the
his
way
name
you
is Nick
publicized that
Salmon.
kid. Yeah, Nick Salmon. You guys made him into a racist and all kind. No, man, that
Yeah.
kid was being abused by an adult. That kid was being
Yeah.
abused by an adult. Nobody
Yeah.
stood up and protected him.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. The other day I watched a video of what was that? Did you see that video of that dude that was like kind of like chastising and sexually harassing AOC? Where she was walking up and said that, oh, here she
No, I
is.
don't
She's
think
got
I
a big
saw that
old
one.
booty. I like her big old booty, and talking about her butt and everything. Look, all
No, I didn't see
inappropriate
that one.
stuff. But he was doing it with a laugh, and you know what I mean.
Right.
And then she even kind of played along with it a little bit. She gave him the peace sign, and they kept walking up. But then later on, they showed her video, and her video was like, this was happening to me. I was being harassed and nobody did anything about it. But it turns out that the guy right next to her was actually her fiance. He didn't do anything about it. She's chastising the police that didn't do anything about it. It's like, wait a minute. We saw that. You're forgetting, woman, that we can see his video. And look, he's being inappropriate and all that stuff. But you're allowed to say the stuff he did. Like he didn't do anything illegal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it wasn't also the way you made it seem. And you and your own man didn't even respond. He didn't even look at the dude. Let me ask you, Trinity. If you and Angel were walking down the street and some dude is saying, "Damn, look at the ass on that girl, man. Look at that. Doesn't she have a beautiful ass?" And all that, what would you do? I'm just curious. Like, would you say something? Would you acknowledge?
I would make my presence known. I wouldn't like haul off and hit the dude, but I'd be like, yeah, I like it too. Thanks. Like I would address it, make him uncomfortable. Like I would make sure he knows,
something.
like, bro, I hear you.
Something.
Yes.
I myself, I don't know what I would do, but I know I would do something.
Yeah.
In other words, I wouldn't just keep walking.
No.
Yet instead of her saying that God, can you believe my fiance just kept walking? Here's a dude saying this. My fiance kept walking. No, instead she goes, I feared if we're not protected. The police aren't here to protect. The Capitol Police were there and they didn't do anything. It was like, oh my God, why are you trying to attack police all the time? It's not their job to protect you. That's your man's job.
There's nothing they can do, by the way,
there's nothing illegal. And if they would have done something, then what?
She would have turned around and said police brutality.
Do you know how many times the cops are called names and say, like, come on, man. They got to sit there and deal with getting called names all the time. Hey, piggy, piggy, piggy. Hey, F you. The video the other day where little kids are hitting the cops. They got to deal with all kinds of stuff, man. They have to not respond to stuff. And now you're saying they should have responded because it was my butt they were talking about.
I'm going to use this as a transition to our next actual title topic that we had. So a friend of mine brought this to my attention. He was just kind of just bringing some topics up, I guess. Up recently in New York City, I don't have the story in front of me, so I'm just going to paraphrase what I know. It was essentially, it's more of a philosophical question, so the details don't matter quite as much in this particular topic, but the details I do remember is the New York City police, like union, I guess, whatever. Somehow, some way, they essentially said that they're no longer going to test their police officers for marijuana. That lasted for about a day, and then somebody came in behind it and backpedaled a little bit because I guess they took some heat for it. And so the question that was posed to me was, is it worth it? Right? Like legitimately, is it worth delegalizing, if you will, decriminalizing marijuana? Is it really going to help the economies? Is it really going to help people with mental health? Is it really worth, like, because there is a debate, right? There's still a debate. I know if you watch TV, it looks like there is no debate, but there is. There's still people who are anti, and there's still people who are pro. Right. And I think the facts get lost in there somewhere. And we've talked about it ad nauseum, so I don't expect us to spend too long on this because we've talked about numerous times, especially on the Couch Live. But for those of the listeners who don't listen to Couch Live, our drug and alcohol show, let's enlighten them a little bit, right? Like, because I think there is still some legitimate debate on both sides on, is weed really the answer? Like, we keep the people who are pro weed are pushing weed as if it's the answer to all your problems. It's gonna fix our economy. It's gonna fix our mental health. It's gonna get people off opioids. Like, it's gonna be the wonder drug that cures everything. And then you have other people on the other side saying, no, it's the gateway drug. It's going to lead to this, that, and the other. And then you have us in the middle who are like, well, not so fast. It's not as clear cut. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, first of all, this is an issue that probably requires a lot more research and study. Not with the cops.
Sure.
So, like, look, if you don't want to test cops, then I say good, because at least now you're not testing the cops, because you're not testing athletes either. You're not testing a lot of people. So why hold cops to a different standard? Um, but if you're going to say that it's for mental health reasons, or it's better than opiates and blah blah blah, I'm going to say, like, well, it depends on the issue, right? Because let's take my recent surgery. If we were to say that marijuana can take the place of opiates, I'm going to tell you that as much as I have loved marijuana in my life, as soon as they told me they were going to cut the back of my head open, take out some skull, take out some bone, if they would have said, Louis, you have an option. We can give you this great high quality marijuana, and then we'll cut
Kush.
you, or we can give you some morphine and fentanyl. I'm taking the morphine and fentanyl. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
knock me the hell out. I look, dude, I'm that guy that I go to the dentist, I'll say, knock me the hell out. I don't
Right.
care what you're doing to me. Knock me the hell out. So first of all, we have to be realistic on that issue from that standpoint. Now, if you're saying, does it have some sort of benefits? I would say, yeah, I do believe that it does. I don't believe we fully understand them or know them, and I don't think that everybody using it gives a shit about that. I think that most people just want to get high. Most people that are in this issue, they just want the freedom to be able to take a hit or two, uh, and all that. I don't think that most people that are cool with this issue are your hardcore, all day long, pot smokers. I think most people that actually are a couple hits and they're done, or a couple edibles and they're done. And I take no issue with that. I don't care if that's your issue. What I do care about is the overall optics. The overall optics is that it has no issues related to it. And when you do that, you're ignoring the reality that, look, we do know there's some side effects to it, of that particular substance, just like there's side effects to caffeine. There's side effects to sugar. Of course, there's side effects to marijuana. Let's not act like it's good for everybody. It's not good for everybody. And we definitely want all younger people to get as old as you can be before your frontal lobe is attacked and threatened in any kind of way, right? So the other issue is that a lot of the physicians that are prescribing it right now, even where it is for medical, are physicians like a gynecologist that hasn't practiced gynecology in the last 10 years because he's 86 years old. We have a lot of physicians that just aren't experts in mental health. You don't have a lot of psychiatrists doing it. And that's an issue that I think we need to address. I think we need to put more psychiatrists in the marijuana business. I think we need to have a lot more mental health professionals in the marijuana business, and then we'll get some real information, because we'd be dealing with actual case studies of people that maybe therapeutic interventions have not been working, but they've been attempting it or using it, and it's just not as successful, or these therapeutic interventions along with this level of THC is actually successful. Then I'd believe it. But just blanket, just giving it as much as you want, you're doing it on your own, and then it's a smokable, and then you're never referred to counseling, or you're not doing any kind of counseling or any other therapeutic intervention, then I call BS on it. So that is my take on it. But if you're just asking me, Trinity, because I'm not an anti-weed person, even though I'm a treatment professional. I'm an anti-disease person, not an anti-weed person. I think there's a lot of people out there that smoke, and it doesn't interrupt their life. And then I think there's a lot of people out there smoke that it's interrupting your life completely, and yet you keep measuring yourself like you think you're the Michael Jordan of marijuana use, and you're actually not. You're on the bench, and you're not even playing in the game, and you think you're Michael Jordan. No, you're not. You're at home actually playing a video game of Michael Jordan. That's the only time you're Michael Jordan, is when you're playing Michael Jordan on a video game. But I think that if we stop testing cops for it, I think that we're putting these law officers in a bad situation. I think you're giving them a false sense of okay, because then should one of these shootings happen, remember, all law enforcement officers, if there's a shooting involved, there's an investigation, and I think at that point in time when there's an investigation, guess what they're going to do? They're going to test these law officers. And then what's going to end is that when they do drug test them, then after one of these shootings, then all of a sudden that law officer that thought he was, it was okay to smoke marijuana because they're not testing him for it, then he gets positive for marijuana after a shooting. Guess what? There might be a legitimate reason to allow that person to then take full blame for that shooting in a negative way, even if it was a legitimate shooting. So I think officers, if you're in this situation, please do not take it as an okay. This is a setting you up to fail. This is setting you up for an incident, and I hope that day never comes where you're under investigation for some inappropriate action or a legitimate action that you had to take, but routine or law or protocol says that you get investigated. This is a just don't do for you. Remember, they hold you to a higher standard. We all hold you to a higher standard. And this is a situation that even though they smoke and it's okay for them, they don't think it's okay for you. Do not do it.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'll make mine relatively brief, I guess. When it comes to weed, it's so weird, dude. Like, as somebody who's never done it, I don't fully grasp this weird, like, emotional attachment people have to it. Like, it's just so weird. You've joked about it before. Talking about it, it's like talking about somebody's grandmother. Like, they're ready to fight. Like, it's just weird.
Yep.
I've never.
Yep.
And I've seen it for years, dude. Like, I'm in my 40s now. Once again, I've never done it, but I've had, like, pretty much every friend that I've ever had has done it at one point or another. And I've been involved in many discussions over the years, and
Yeah.
that's the one common thread. Is it's very difficult, and I think there's something to it. It's very difficult to have a reasonable discussion with somebody who has smoked weed, who's debating weed. Like, it's they lose their ability to be unbiased. It's just weird. Like, it's this weird emotional hold I don't fully understand, right? Having said that, I think that that's part of the problem is we don't want, as I was just saying in the previous segment, they ignore the realities, and the reality is not everybody can use it. Like, it's not this wonder drug, right? And I think it suffers from the same, like, the same feel good disease that happens with other topics. It just feels good to say this natural, earth plant is good for you. Like, it just feels good. It feels good to say that it's better than opiates and all this other stuff. Like, it just feels good. But when you really look at the numbers and you really look at the details, that might not be the case, right? Like, there's so many things out there that we look at that on face value just feel good. But then when you look at the actual data, like, for the in our previous segment when I said how many transvestite or transvestite I don't know what the fucking word I'm looking for is. Yeah,
all
I
the
remember
letters.
word.
All the
Yeah,
letters.
whatever are dying at these record rates. When you hear the number, like, it feels good. Like, yeah, that sounds about right. But when you look at the actual numbers, it's like, no, it's like 300. Like, that's not a huge number that they're making it out to be, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that weed is the same thing. It just feels good to say a natural plant that's been around, that is so benign and harmless, is no big deal. But then when you look at the details and realize that the toll that it takes on the brain itself, the decision making that is usually, like, they just want to ignore the bad side of it, right? Like, they just want to ignore how many times things went wrong and weed was involved.
Yeah.
They just want to ignore the connection there. Like, it's like if you have 10 different bad things that happen and 9 of the 10 included weed, you just want to, like, pretend like that's not part of the equation. Like, well, if it's the common denominator in all these things, like, logic would say, yeah, maybe it has something to do with it. They just want to ignore that. And so I think that until both sides can be honest, we're all going to suffer. Like, my friend was asking me, and I think he might have been asking me, I don't know if he doesn't, he's looking for justification. If he doesn't do it and he's wondering if he should, I don't know what the reasoning is. I'll find out later. But that's part of the problem. The part of the problem is he doesn't know, and he's never gonna know, because we don't have any legitimate discussion about it. It's all super, super biased, opinionated.
Right.
And what we need is no bias, no opinion. Let's study it. Let's figure out, like, what are the goods or what are the bad? The people who are very anti need to shut up and admit, you know what? Yeah, if my kid right now, what would I rather have? And I'm just being honest here. I have kids, and if they were to come to me, would I rather have them telling me that they're hooked on crystal meth or they can't stop smoking weed? I'll take the weed 10 times out of 10, because that's way less of a problem than smoking crystal meth. That's way less of a problem than popping opiate pills and all these other things that are legally available. I would much rather my kid tell me, hey, man, I just like to smoke too much. We can work with that. So the people who are anti that, get up off your horse, man. Admit that there are some benefits to it. Admit that there are some things that might help people's lives a little bit, even if it's just a placebo, even if they think that it's helping them and it does. Well, isn't that good? Like, you got to admit that. But then the other people who are so pro, shut up. Come on, dude. Like, admit that how many things in your life have gone sideways that weed was involved in. Like, come on, man. Like, be realistic and understand that. Like, so until both sides can't just be honest and like, let's really address this, we're going to still have people out there who are suffering. Because I think there are many people out there who could, on both sides, right? There's people out there who could potentially benefit, but they'll never know because there's not enough information. And there's people out there who are potentially being hurt by this, but they'll never know because they'll never take an honest look at it. And so the those of us in the middle are actually being hurt because we don't have any real knowledge on it. It's all basically what circle do you run in and what email did you read lately?
There's a group of people I want to speak to for a second whenever we talk about this issue. So I'm on a particular group of people, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And it's the people looking for a chemical solution to a problem that might be spiritual or philosophical, right? Or emotional. Because and this is why I'm talking about it. There's a lot of you out there that will come up with an argument that it helps you deal with life, that you have depression, that you have anxiety, and it actually helps you deal with it. And yet you're still smoking and you still report having depression and anxiety. So it really is not treating it. It's not, it may be a band-aid for a short amount of minutes or hours, but it's not really treating it. I'm not trying to advocate for a pharmaceutical solution. I'm not advocating a marijuana as a solution, but what I am saying is that maybe there's other types of non-chemical solutions that you have yet to try because you're so adamant that it's helping you. And mind you, Trinity, I've tried to help a lot of people that will not give it up. Yet they say I suffer extreme amount of anxiety or depression. It's debilitating. Yet they're still smokers. They smoke on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and it's like, what makes you think that long-term smoking is making it to find the solution that you really want to seek? You're saying you want a solution, but I don't think you do. I think what you really want to do is you want a solution, but you want to keep smoking. Or you're afraid that if you stop smoking, it's going to get worse. And initially it might, because there are some effects that's covering up. There are some of the symptomology that you're mentioning that may be covering up for a brief moment. But just like when a wave comes into shore, when it leaves, it does the pullback. That's what you're experiencing. When you need to use again, when you need to re-up, is because that pullback of the ocean is even more powerful than when the wave comes in. What goes up must come down. And unfortunately, I think you need to be very realistic with yourself and understand that the more I continue to smoke marijuana, my depression is never going to get better. My anxiety is never going to get better. I need to at least just put it down to at least try some other types of treatment. And if they work, then maybe I won't be a person with depression for 30 or 40 years. Maybe I won't be a person with anxiety for 30 or 40 years. Maybe. I don't know. But if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're still smoking pot, but you still suffer depression and anxiety, it probably hasn't worked. Yeah. It's probably part of the problem, but unfortunately, it's the kind of drug that is so friendly seeming and so fun sometimes. I get it. I get the positives, man. I love the smell. I love the feeling. I just don't do it because I can't trust it. I can't trust my attachment to it. I can't trust my love for it. It's a toxic relationship because I won't look at the truth. I won't take in the truth because I simply just want to use it. And so that's why I can't have a relationship with it. You know what I mean? And if it was a person, if it was a human, if it was a woman that I made that kind of decision for, because no matter what she did to me, I just can't blame her for it. I know my money's missing, but I don't care. I'll give her the money. I don't care. I know she's telling me not to go to work and trying to just sit here, that it's not me, but no, I got to go to work. I got to go do it. I know she's telling me, no, it's not your fault. It's them. It's them. It's always them. She's probably not good for me, and so you got to look at that stuff in reality form. That's all I'm saying. If you're out there and you're a user and you don't suffer depression and you don't suffer anxiety, then fine. That's good. Yeah. But if you're diagnosed with a mental health issue and you haven't gone a period of time without it, and tried other things that are non-pharmacological. Try therapy for a good extensive amount of time. Try some strong philosophical indoctrinations for a long period of time, or tried some strong spiritual indoctrinations for a long period of time, or tried some other issue other things that involve meditation, involve yoga, involve working out, involve other things that are non-medicinal, then you don't know. You're just looking for a chemical. So you're only comparing it to an antidepressant, or you're only comparing it to a Xanax, or you're only comparing it to alcohol, or you're only comparing it to opioids. That's not a fair comparison. If you want to inhale something, you got to compare it to oxygen. If you're going to tell me it's better than oxygen in all forms of living, okay. But I don't think you have proof that it's better than oxygen. I don't think there's any scientific proof whatsoever that you're going to find that they'll say inhaling THC is better than oxygen. You're not going to find it. And that's the only comparison you need to make. That's the true control.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Before we move on, that's the thing that always irritates me is when I have conversations and these debates come up, they always do want to compare it to like all these other substances as if there's no, like, I want to explain. And I tell them, I was like, well, I'm an example is, it doesn't have to be either or. There is a third option, and that's nothing. Like, I've never done any of them. Like that is an option. People.
No, you're not doing. You're not doing nothing. You're doing oxygen.
Yeah.
And that is a good substance. That's an actual chemical that's actually necessary and good for you.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't like, because I've had that. That's usually the go-to is when I have this conversations. Well, it's better than this. It's like, but why does it have to be either other? Like you could do neither one of those. So, anyways, all right. Our last topic is going to be probably a lighthearted one, but still, the last topic is apparently Dave Chappelle's show was moved. Actually, it was canceled. It was supposed to be in this one place. I think it's Minnesota. Apparently, they got some backlash about having him, and so they no longer have him at this location. They're moving him across town to a different location, and I'm assuming the people who own that establishment are trying to cater to whomever it is that they think is upset. For those of you who've been living under a rock and don't know who Dave Chappelle is or why he's important, he's a comedian who some view as controversial. I personally view him as probably one of my favorite comedians. I think he's absolutely hilarious.
Of all time. Of all time.
And I feel as if you've ever watched any of his stuff, no way you would walk away thinking he's trans or homophobic. I don't think the people who are saying that have actually listened to his comedy, because one of his best friends was a trans woman who opened for him. So like, I don't think he's phobic in any way, shape, or form. I think he's a comedian and he pokes fun at things that we find sensitive and controversial, which used to be what comedians did. Like that used to be a thing. Like comedians used to be known for joking about things that made the rest of us uncomfortable, and that was okay. But somehow in the last 10, 12 years, that has become not okay. And we've collectively lost our sense of humor. Because I remember even back in the day when there were certain, like my mother hated Andrew Dice Clay. She still does, probably, if you talk to him. She thinks he's a pig. She thinks he's this, that, and the other. But she's never advocated for him being canceled. Like, she's never advocated that he should just go away. She's just like, oh, that's just not my type of humor. I remember when I was really young, I didn't at first like Sam Kinison, but I ended up loving Sam Kinison as I got older. Like, hey, like I thought he was funny. But somebody who I've never gotten into was Gilbert Godfrey. I've always found his voice to be absolutely annoying as hell. I can't stand it.
I'm with you.
Even his jokes, I didn't think were that funny, but he's apparently this icon. Like, I don't get it. But I've never thought that, like, hey, he should go away. Like, he's just not my particular humor.
And he was very offensive. And he was very offensive to everybody.
Yes.
But I just didn't laugh about it. But I didn't think he should be canceled because I just didn't,
But somehow we've gotten to a place now where if I don't find you funny, then you must be canceled and go away and never talk. Like, we're not even allowed to have different sense of humor anymore. Like, it's just weird to me. Like, I don't understand. So, yeah, Dave Chappelle.
Dude, Eddie Murphy could not do Raw today. Eddie Murphy could not do Raw today.
No.
Dude, everything he said was offensive, and it was funny as hell.
Dude, even George Carlin. George Carlin to me is funny,
man.
And he was great. And they play his stuff still, but I don't think George Carlin could exist in today's world right now. I don't think so. I think if he's George Carlin now because he's been George Carlin for so long and we just accepted it. But if he was a new up and comer doing the same stuff he was doing, no way.
You know what's funny is I think a lot of people that lean very far a certain way use George Carlin as an example sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't think George Carlin would have all the same views that he had even
No.
then. I think George Carlin would make fun of some of you that think that you're on his
Yes.
side or he's on your
Yes.
side. He would actually poke back fun at you because there is no way George Carlin would ever allow himself to be in the majority. And if you guys think you're the majority, he would instantly attack you. No, that's
Yes.
what made George Carlin funny is he would put himself in the minority
Yes.
group and make fun of those in power, those that felt like they had control, those that felt like they could silence you. That's who George Carlin
Which
attacked.
is why he would
So
not make it today.
no,
He would be
no,
canceled after
and,
the first show.
that's what I'm saying. Every look, I love Red Fox. I love so many very funny people. And if you even try to go further, you go to the Lenny Bruces, who I
Yeah.
can't even tell
Yeah.
you one joke of Lenny Bruce, but I
No,
knew
but he
of
started
him
it.
because he was so offensive. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was so offensive to people, they would always use him as the measuring tool. So whenever they would talk about later people, they would compare him to Lenny Bruce, right? They would compare
Yeah, he
that
was.
that
I
Lenny
think he was
Bruce type of
before Richard Pryor, right?
humor.
Yeah, he was one of the first
Richard
ones who
Pryor's
started that kind of comedy.
probably that's my all-time favorite right there. Richard Pryor's my all-time
Yeah,
favorite. There it is.
nice.
You mentioned my all-time favorite. That's my number
Yeah,
one.
I've heard some of his
Richard
stuff.
Pryor. But
But yeah, but I think Lenny Bruce was the one who started it. I think he was the original one go around doing the clubs and like bringing up that kind of
probably.
comedy.
Yeah.
And then I think Richard Pryor
That's who
was
they would
shortly
say.
after
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
They started the whole
Yeah.
thing, but
Yeah.
like Andrew Dice Clay, he's another one that wouldn't make it today. Like, there's no way.
Hickory dickory dock. There's no darn
Yeah,
way.
no.
There's no darn way. And
That
here's the thing,
saddens me though.
people. I mean, the fact that look, all right, so you're offended, so don't go.
Yeah.
Hey, like just how can you not admit again attack on democracy? How can you not admit that there's a good half of the population that just doesn't agree with you? 50% of the population doesn't agree. And if it's
They're
not
so
exactly
delusional.
50, it's pretty close. They just don't agree with you. So why should they have to baby proof their house because you have to baby proof your house? You want to baby proof
Yeah.
your house? You baby proof your house. But you can't come to my house and baby proof my house.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have any kind of say so in what I can go watch and see. I paid for my ticket. How should you be able to attack the venue so that I can't go see who I want to go see? Because you're making me now drive to a different location because you didn't buy the ticket. It's not your concert to see. Look, I think look, I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. I'm not a Bucks fan, but I can't say, hey, you guys shouldn't have the Buccaneers. You know what I mean? No. I'm not an Orlando Magic fan. What should I think that my tax dollars shouldn't go to the Orlando Magic where the Orlando Magic play just simply because I'm not a Magic fan? No. This is just the way it is. Sometimes there's going to be performers that exist that you just don't like. I really hate when they say Def Leppard is as iconic as they are because I still remember when Def Leppard made fun of Mexicans. And I still remember when they were canceled out of Texas because we went to Def Leppard and we bought our tickets and we experienced Def Leppard. We loved it. Then they go to Las Cruces the next night and go, it's great to be back in the United States. Yesterday it felt like we were in Mexico because the first 10 rows are full of greasy Mexicans. They forgot that a lot of us went to both concerts and we were there too. And we're like, wait a minute, did you seriously just make fun of us?
Wow.
And then Def Leppard was canceled out of the state of Texas for a good 10 years, a good decade. So should I not be still offended? Yeah, I just don't. I'm not a Def Leppard fan because of it. Look, that's my choice, but I don't go around telling everybody Def Leppard's racist. I don't believe that. I think they were just drunk and said something stupid. I don't think that they're bad enough to be canceled. I just think they were just being stupid at the moment. That's the way we should be. You don't want to listen to it, don't listen to it. You don't like it, don't like it. But you're not going to get away. I'm telling you, Dave Chappelle's going to strike back and he's going to hurt you and he's going to hurt you hard. He's going to, you think you were offended now? You're going to be a lot more offended. A lot more.
I think you hit it on the head in the very beginning. And since I know we're getting to the end here, I think that's a great way to wrap it up, especially as we the middle. And that is, I think too many people are losing sight that there's so many, like, you typically surround yourself with like-minded people. That's just kind of what we do as a human species. We gravitate to people who feel the same. And so often you can kind of get delusional and think that everybody thinks the way you do because you have like 4 friends who all agree with you. Well, of course, that's why they're your friends, because
Mhm.
you all agree with one another. But what
Yeah.
people mistake is like we'll do the Trump and Biden's analogy, I guess, because that's the most recent thing that I can point to that we have actual data. 75 million people voted for this dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was another
Yeah.
75 million roughly that voted for
Yeah.
Biden. It was like it wasn't this landslide that everybody thought was going to happen. I mean, give or take a state or two, we be talking about the second term of Trump right now. And whether you love him or hate him, I don't care. The point is, you have to acknowledge, no matter what side you're on, an overwhelming amount of people agree, and an overwhelming amount of people disagree. And that's the beauty of our country, is the democracy. We're all allowed to have different opinions. And so,
Yeah.
and unless you're fully on board 100%, which I don't think anybody is with your team, stop. Like, we're all kind of in the middle, man. Nobody really is out there. No large amount of people are all right or all left. We're kind of in the middle. Like, there's certain situations where, yeah, man, I agree with them, but then there's another one that pops up. It's like, oh well, no, I kind of agree with them. That's kind of where we're at, dude. We're humans. We're
Yeah.
complex. This idea that it's black or stop. It's never been that with anything. And so just keep in mind, dude. There's like I think there's I guarantee you there's somebody in my orbit who hates Dave Chappelle. I'm sure there is. I think he's one of the best comedians I've ever heard. And we're both right. If you hate him and you think he's the worst, you're right. For you, he is the worst. You hate
Yeah.
him. But for
Yeah.
me, I think he's one of the best. And I'm also right. I'm no more
Yeah.
right than you are, and I'm no more less. We're we're both right. And that's okay. That's the beauty of the country. Because you know what?
Mm.
You have the choice to say, I'm not going to go to his show. And
Yep.
I should have the choice to say, I'm going to go to his show. I'm going to let my money speak. I'm going to pay to go watch this dude perform. I should be allowed to do so. Um, but I really don't like the fact that we get in these little bubbles, and both sides are guilty. The
Yeah.
right side is guilty. The left, they're both guilty. Where you just start to think that every single person thinks the way you do, and the ones that don't think the way you do are so wrong. There couldn't be any more bullshit. All right. I don't know a lot of things in this world, but I know enough to know that's complete horseshit.
Yeah.
Right? There's just as many people, no matter what you can think of. There's two sides. There's somebody for and there's somebody against. I don't care what it is that you can imagine. There's people for and people against. And so kind of keep that in mind, man. That's why we call this We the Middle. There's been some things happen where people just assume they know who we are, what we vote, and what we think about
Yeah.
things, and they couldn't be more off. Neither one of us are red or blue. We are literally We the Middle. And that's why we call the show that. And we
Right.
think that we're not alone. We think there's a lot of other people out there who are in the middle. And start acting like it. Stop acting like you're the judge, jury, and conviction. Stop acting like what you think and what your team thinks is the end all be all,
Right.
and anybody else. Stop.
Trinity, I want to address that number. The numbers that you started with, I want to address it because I want to point out something real important mathematically. How many people did you say voted for Trump?
I think it was like 75 million, I believe. There's like
75
330
million. And
million
it,
eligible voters, and only
right,
150 of them voted. So half the
right,
eligible
right.
population voted, and it was
Okay.
like 75 million to 77 million, I think.
Okay. Now,
75 for
now when
Trump,
you say that,
77 for
was
Biden.
that the most recent election?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Would you be comfortable in saying that uh, in that number that you said that voted for Trump, that they actually voted for Trump, right? Because they knew all the negatives that came with him. They knew the way he spoke. They
Yeah,
knew his attitude. They knew everything about you. Would you say that population actually voted for Trump?
I would say the majority of them. Yeah, yes, that would
Okay.
be. I think that's a
Okay.
safe bet.
Okay. Now, a high majority, I'm sure. A high
Yeah,
majority,
yeah.
right? Okay. Now let's think of the number that voted for Biden. Because Trump is on that ticket, out of that number that voted for Biden, how many of them voted against Trump? Not for Biden, not for him, not because they said Biden could be the best president out of all the candidates that were possible, but voted against Trump. They were just
Yeah,
afraid of Trump winning. How many? Do you think it was a high percentage of people that just voted
yeah.
against Trump?
I would say it would be a large majority as well. I don't think the majority of people voted for Biden because he's been in here for 40
Yeah,
some years and he's never made it before. So like I don't know. I don't think he
yeah,
suddenly overnight
yeah.
became the guy.
Exactly. That's my point. My point. So realistically, when you have someone like him or that side say, look, he is more popular or he won the popular vote. No, he didn't actually. They voted D on the ticket or blue on the ticket. They voted for Cripps, but it wasn't for him. They didn't care for him. They wanted Bernie Sanders edge. They wanted somebody else. But they knew no matter what, they didn't want Trump. So in that case, Trump was the Rodman. Trump was the people loved to hate him, they loved to love him. He was the one that's, man, no matter what, didn't listen to him.
Yep.
And that's the point. So Trump actually has more people loving him and wanting him than Biden does. That's
I'd agree
I
with
would
that.
think is a true statement.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Because of that fact. So I think that's what you people that are have to think about, because we're in the middle here, and I know the way we voted, I know the way we think, and I know I would rather, if you're going to give me a candidate on the Crip side and the blood side, you both better put up your best candidates, because I want to make sure whoever I vote for in all of these rounds is the best person for the job. And I do not ever want to vote for, oh, at least it's not the other guy. Nope. You put up your best. You put up somebody that I would hire, because that's what we're doing. We're hiring that person. That's it. Put up your best. I don't want to hear any more of this other stuff. But that's what's happening right now is just all about, let's tear down this other person because they're afraid. You're afraid of him so much. And I'm afraid. Here's what you're doing. Crazy. You're actually waking him up to run again. Do we really want him to run again? You're actually making him want to run again. You keep poking him. You're poking the bear, and you think that he's going to say, so you better convict him. You better arrest him. You better indict him. You better convict him. And even then, he'd probably be the first person that wins an election after being convicted.
Yeah.
I swear.
Yeah. I'm going to say something really controversial.
He will beat anybody you got right now. He will beat anybody.
Yeah. I'm going to say something ridiculously controversial right now. Get out there and speak to somebody you don't agree with. But don't speak to them to judge them. Speak to them to try to really understand where they're coming from, right? Just truly understand their perspective. I know that's a crazy thing, right? But I did it because I did not vote for Trump the first go around. Like when that first happened, I voted for Hillary. Full disclosure, I did it because she was a woman.
Me too.
I didn't vote because she had great politics, whatever. I just thought, you know what? I got caught up in my feels. I thought it was great that we had our first black president. I'm like, hey, let's keep this party going. Let's get a woman in there.
Yep.
And I got caught up in it. I don't necessarily regret that, because I felt at the time that was the right move. I don't think I would do it again moving forward. I think I've changed my way I go about it. Having said that, I did not take Trump seriously when he was running. I thought it was a joke. I didn't think it was going to happen. The night of the election, I didn't even I was watching it. I was like, there's no way. Like I thought he was going to get demolished. I didn't take him seriously. I thought he was an idiot. Like I was just like, whatever. And then that night, it looked like he might win. I'm like, there's no way. I went to bed. And when I woke up the next morning, I saw that he won. And I was in total shock. I could not believe what I just witnessed. I thought it was like the end of days. Like I thought I was in a bad comedy movie and like this stuff happened. I was like, this can't be real. Like what? And then I remember I went to my client's house and he was talking to me, and he was a pro-Trump guy. And I was like, there's no way, dude. Like I was talking to him and he was the first person. So he was my first interaction with somebody who took Trump on a serious level. And I was talking to him and he said a few things to me that started me on my journey. The first thing he said was that was a slap in the face to all the millennials. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, that was basically just them saying like, no, we don't like your quote unquote wokeism, things of that nature. It was a slap in their face. And then it started me to think, okay, well, I find it hard to believe, just anecdotally. I know a lot of people. I've met a lot of people in my life. And if I'm looking at percentages, the vast majority of people I've met are not really racist people. They're not bad people. So I refuse to believe that 75 million people are just hands down immediately racist. I couldn't believe that. So I was like, all right, well, I think this is ridiculous. But before I panic, let me go talk to some people who I don't necessarily agree with. Let me just see where they're coming from. And then I started talking to people, and I started realizing I don't necessarily agree with where they're coming from, but I can understand why they did what they did. right? It wasn't because they're racist. It wasn't because they hate this or hate that. No, it's just he spoke to the person who didn't feel listened to. There's a whole subgroup of people out there who don't feel heard, who don't feel like their morals and their values are being held anymore. There's a lot. I have family that live in the Midwest. Now, you can argue all day long whether their perspective is right or wrong, but what I'm going to say is I have family right now who live in the Midwest who aren't around a tremendous amount of people who are different than they are. They they don't have gay pride parades, within 5 miles of their house of people walking around with like dildos all over them in full colors and everything. They don't have that. They don't see that. They don't even watch those TV programs or anything else, right? The majority of their people they get up, they go to church on Sunday mornings, like salt of the earth kind of people. And and when they're being told by the media and by politicians and everybody else that they're somehow stupid and they don't matter, and the whole middle of the country just doesn't matter, and that's the flyover states, nobody really goes there. When they're told that they're dumb, when they're told that farmers don't do anything, they don't contribute, they're not as important as the engineers and people in New York and stuff. When they're told that if they don't want to have a gay pride parade down the middle of their street, that they're somehow wrong and they're bad people and things of that nature, they don't just take that, dude. And you wouldn't either. They don't take it. They might not go out there and burn cities down. They might not go out there and protest. But what they do is they vote. They do get out and vote. That's the one thing that they've learned how to do in their lifetime. And so what you're seeing is those people were spoken to. There were certain states and certain counties that who was it that he was running against the first time? Who did he beat? God damn, I don't remember who he beat. Whoever Trump beat the first time. Oh, Hillary. There we go. There's certain places that Hillary didn't even go. Like she literally did not step foot in that place. They weren't worth her time. And whether she intended it that way or not, that's how it was taken. Like you didn't even come talk to us, but you know who did go? Trump. That dude literally went everywhere. He went. I don't care where it was. That dude showed up. And the thing that really kind of shocked me the most when I looked at Trump's original victory, if you look at the map was red. Like the map was red. There was little clusters of blue. And it just so happened that in those clusters, there's more people within there. So that's why her numbers were so big. But if you just look at the map, the majority of the map was red. And that's the thing. So, like, you got to understand that those people were pissed and nobody's talking to them. And it's not just the politicians.
Yep.
I heard it all the time. Like, even now, I'm not even in the Midwest. We're in the South. You know how many times it's insulting as hell. I don't really care too much because I don't really consider myself a Southerner and things of that nature. But I do live in the South and I've been here since I was a boy. I hear so many people talk bad about the South. Oh, they're idiots down there. They're stupid. I don't feel like I'm stupid. I feel like I'm actually a really intelligent person. But when I hear it's like commonplace for like New Yorkers, for instance, and I'm just using them as an example, to like talk trash about everybody in the South, and even right now, the national joke to make fun of people in Florida. Right? Florida's the redhead stepchild of the thing. I hear it all the time. Well, I live in Florida, and I don't feel like I'm stupid. I don't feel like I'm part of the problem. But if I keep hearing that, then eventually you're going to turn me off. I'm not going to want to interact with you anymore. I'm like, you know what? I get where you're coming from, and I just don't agree. And what you don't realize is your tolerance that you're putting out there. You're not very tolerant. You're only tolerant of the people who look like you, feel like you, and think like you, which you're entitled to do. But what you don't realize is all you people on the left, as much as you hate Trump, you created him. You made him.
Yep.
By you
100%.
isolating and pissing people off and calling them stupid and calling them they don't matter and not realizing that all those organic groceries that you want to buy in the stores, well, they came from those same stupid farmers that you couldn't do, by the way. You couldn't go out there and farm the way they did. That's a hard life. I've got family that live on ranches and that is a hard life. And so you isolating those people, making them feel dumb, not listening to them, tell them all these things. Well, what you didn't know, because they went out there protesting and they don't get the media coverage, they were pissed. They were feeling unheard, and they voted. They showed you how pissed they were by voting for the one person that spoke to them, that would come in and destroy everything that you were standing for. So you created it. And then there'll be another one unless you eventually do what I said at the very beginning of this little diatribe I'm going on, is talk to somebody you don't agree with. and don't talk to them to tell your friends how stupid that person was and how much they didn't make sense and how lost no, genuinely trying to understand where they're coming from. That's what I did, and that's how I was okay with defending certain things of Trump. Not because I liked him, not because I changed my mind, but because I talked to the people he voted for and I understood why they voted for him. I didn't necessarily agree, but it made sense to me. I could see the logic. And you too need to do the same thing. And it goes for both sides. Go talk to somebody who you don't agree with and try to understand where they're coming from, and then maybe we won't have this problem again. And on that note, I'm done blabbing my mouth.
I think that's a good mic drop, man. Look, other than that, all I'm going to say is F you won't do what you tell me. You know what I mean? Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
And that other side right now is the machine. It's trying to manipulate our thought, manipulate what we can see, what we can't see, trying to manipulate our news coverage. And F you, I won't do what you tell me. I will be a disruptor, and I will vote for the disruptor. If that's your best shit you got, if you put this dude up again and you say that's the best you got and that's the best vice you got, you ain't getting my vote. I guarantee it. You will lose, and you're going to lose big time. And you're going to be shaking your head, and you're going to go ahead and say that it's racism again, because that's everything. Everything you view is out of gender and race. That's it. You're trying to teach us to just focus on gender and race. Well, you know what? Our adjectives are what's important. Our economy is what's important. Our safety is what's important. We have other things that we care about than just gender and race. Stop doing that. You're too focused on two issues, and those are the only two issues you care about. And you really don't care about race because you don't care about Latinos. Definitely don't care about us. You don't care about Asians. You don't care about Muslims. You don't care about freedom of religion. You don't care about any other subgroup. You care about two groups right now, and that's it. And that's all you're pushing. And keep doing that. Let's see how that works for you. Those two groups will wise up, and they'll realize you really don't care about them either. You're just trying to use them. That's it. So anyway, I love your mic drop, Trinity. Thank you very much for all you did. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. That's the Dharma Guy. I'm the Dope Doctor. This has been We the Middle. If they want to listen to this show later on, share it, or other future shows, Trinity, what should they do? How should they do it?
Yeah, if they want to watch it, or if they want to watch it live, they can go to Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch and look up Dope and Dharma. And if you want to just hear it at any time, you can go to any of your major podcasting platforms, and we are there. And by all means, man, we need to get the word out. If you like what we say, please, please, please share it, send it to people. We can't be heard unless people listen.
Yeah, subscribe and follow so that when we come on, you know that it's time for you to share your opinion. We want to hear it. Anyway, this has been We the Middle version of Dope and Dharma. Adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.